Hey everybody, welcome back to the Muddy Mint YouTube channel. Today we're doing a very different video. We're doing a Makesy unboxing and review video. So Makesy got in touch with me a couple of weeks ago to ask about doing a review video of their soap making kit. So Makesy is basically a company that puts out all kinds of kits for makers. So it's pretty cool. They send you a box and everything is in there and ready to go. So they have a cold process soap making kit, and in the box is everything that you need to get started on soap making. And what's cool about it is that you don't need to mix your own lye. So that's kind of a bonus. Anyway, they contacted me and I was a little bit hesitant at first because we've never done a sponsored video before. So I had a lot of questions for them, and I went back and forth with the president, Charlotte, who was super kind and super nice and very patient with all of my questions. So, I mean, one of the reasons we agreed to do the video is because they were just so awesome at getting back to us on everything. And on top of that, their soap making kit is pretty cool. It looks amazing online. I have not opened any of the boxes yet, so you'll be getting my first impressions on everything. Anyway, I'm really excited to get started, so let's dive in. Hey everyone. Here I am with all of the Makesy boxes. It looks like a lot, but these boxes are actually pretty light, most of them. Normally you get 3 boxes, I believe, with the cold process Makesy kit. I have 4 because this container was out of stock when I got the kit, and it came to me just a couple days after everything else. So let's get into these boxes. I'm super excited. I don't really know which one to start with, so maybe I'll just start with this one. All right, so this is the first box. Let's look inside. I already opened the boxes, but I have not looked in here. Already I'm happy that they're using reusable materials. We use these for shipping, so I'm gonna save all that stuff for our shipping folks. All right, in here there's another box. Ooh, all right, I better get my knife out. Everything's packaged really nicely so far. Okay, in this smaller box, we have, let's take a look here, our sodium hydroxide solution. So this is a 50-50 solution, which I'm already super excited about. We use 50-50 lye water solution with all of our soaps, so I love that they're introducing this concept early to soap makers, especially beginners. And the nice thing is, obviously, you don't have to mix it yourself. Now, there are pros and cons to this, of course. As a brand new soap maker, it's kind of nice just to dive into soap making without having to make your lye water. So that's what's great about this. Of course, eventually at some point, you'll probably need to learn how to mix your lye water, but that can come later. So anyway, love that. The other thing, oh, this is another bottle of the same thing. So you've got 2 of these bottles, and I think that's it. That kind of explains why there's another box in here. They probably wanted to make sure this was extra safe. So 2 bottles of the 50-50 lye water solution, already pre-mixed for you and ready to go. All right, we're gonna get into our other little box, which I think is that container I was talking about that was out of stock. Yep, oh wow, this is big. Okay, I already love it because it's bigger than any of our other containers like this. This is a big pitcher. I'm guessing maybe this is the pitcher we make our batch in. I'm not actually sure. We'll find out. Okay, our next box is the heaviest box, so I'm curious to see what's in here. Okay. Again, I love that there's no plastic in here. This is what's called the Trinity Oil Blend. So Makesy has their own oil blend that they provide with the soap making kit. So the oils are already blended in here and ready to go. And I believe that it's olive oil, palm oil, sustainable palm, that was one of my questions, and also coconut. Yeah, coconut, palm, and olive. And that's a pretty standard blend that works great for soap making. I don't know what the percentages are in here, but if I look at the ingredients, the olive is first, the palm is second, and the coconut is third, which you'll need to know for your labeling if you decide to sell these bars that you make. I like that the coconut is last because that means that there's probably less of coconut than any of the other ones, which feels good because I prefer to make soap that has less than 25% coconut oil. So anyway, this is the oil blend, which is also ready to go. So you've got ready to go lye, you've got ready to go oil, and I mean, you could already make soap with just this. All right, let's see what else we have. So we've already opened up almost all the boxes. There's only one left, so this must have most of the supplies in it. This big guy right here. Oh yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in here. Okay, I'm excited to show you guys all of this. Where do I start? Let's see. Spatula, first thing. So this is a silicone spatula. We actually use these exact spatulas. I'm looking at it and it's definitely my favorite kind of spatula because it doesn't have any grooves in it. So this is great. We have a stick blender. So we're gonna be using the stick blender when we make the soap to test it out. So excited to try that guy. We've got some, so when you get your kit, you get to decide if you know what kind of fragrance you want, and they also have an essential oil option. As you know, we only make palm oil free and all natural soaps. Now, I made sure that the palm oil that's used in this Trinity blend is sustainable palm, so that was one of my questions. The other one was whether we could get essential oils rather than fragrances. And the answer is yes, you can actually pick it when you select your box, whichever fragrance option you want. So this is French lavender and Australian tea tree essential oil. So this is going to be a lavender tea tree soap that we make. We've got goggles. Nice, these look like good ones. The Botanicals Discovery Kit. So it looks like, I'm going to open this up in just a minute, but it looks like it has lavender buds, red rose petals, butterfly pea flowers, which I love, organic chamomile flowers, safflower petals, and whole leaf sage. So this is a fun option just for playing around with your soaps. We have a natural powders discovery kit. Oh wow, okay. So this is something that I asked for them to include because normally this kit comes with micas, I believe. So in here we have watermelon powder, which I've never even heard of, so that's interesting. Spirulina powder, activated charcoal powder, organic turmeric powder, and blue matcha powder. Okay, this is gonna be fun. I'm excited to try some of these out. Okay, there is an Eco Glitter Discovery Kit in here, which has a bunch of eco glitters. We don't use glitters, so we're gonna put that aside, but that is something that comes in the box. There is an old school soap cutter, so it's gonna be fun to use one of these again. Basically, this is just a straight cutter for cutting your soap. And let's see, we have another container, and in here is a whole bunch of safety stuff. We've got rubber gloves. So those are nice and tall. And then these are sleeves, I believe. So you can put these on when you make your soap to protect your arms. And kaolin clay and fine Himalayan pink sea salt. And then another container. These are exactly the kind of containers we use, so I'm really happy to see these in the kit. All right, there's still a whole bunch of stuff in here. There's testing strips, fragrance testing strips, I believe. We've got, I don't know what that is, but we'll open it up in a second. There's a big mold in here. Okay, this is a nice wood mold. It's got the little Makesy logo in there, which is cute. It's got holes in the back, so you can push this out. And there's a lid, which is really nice if you don't want to get ash on top of your soap. Just keep it warm without having to use towels. And then there's a silicone liner in here. Okay, let's see what's in here. Okay, here's what was in the box. It's a scale, and it comes with a little battery right here. This is the cutest little scale. So we're gonna be using this to make our soap. And I think that might be it, you guys. I'll look in this box a little more to make sure, but then I'll be back. All right, everyone, I'm gonna unwrap all of this stuff and put it out on the table and get a shot with our overhead camera so you can see everything laid out at once. I'll be back. Hey everybody, we're back and we have the whole kit laid out for you. So this is the Makesy kit that you get when you purchase the cold process soap making kit. It comes with the oil that is already pre-mixed. It comes with the sodium hydroxide or lye 50-50 solution, which is also already pre-mixed. So a huge benefit of this particular kit is that you don't have to mix lye yourself. You still have to handle it and pour it, and that's why we have all the safety equipment here, but you don't have to mix it. They even have the stick blender here and an awesome looking mold. I'm actually really excited about this mold. It's beautiful. I love that this comes with a really nice mold because as a soap maker, when I first started, I started with molds that weren't that great. And after a while, I finally invested in a wood mold like this. And I mean, it just feels really nice to get something that's high quality in your kit. There's great containers here. These are the exact same containers that we use when we make soap, so that was kind of nice to see. We have essential oils here. The kit comes with, you can get fragrances if you want, but you can also get this essential oil version, which has French lavender and Australian tea tree, so that's super nice. And I'm pretty excited about some of these natural colorants, some of which I've never used before. There's sort of some tried and true ones here, but we also have watermelon powder and blue matcha powder. So we're definitely going to give those a try. And then just lots of variety of extra things that you could use, including botanicals that you can put on top, pink sea salt, and the kaolin clay. And a scale, of course. So anyway, super comprehensive kit. The other thing that's included in this kit is something called the Bubble Book. The Bubble Book is something that you get as a digital download when you purchase this soap making kit. So if you're brand new, it goes through everything you need to know about making cold process soap. And the other thing that's wonderful about it is that it's written by the soap gal. So I believe the soap gal is the one that put together this entire kit and also the Bubble Book, all the instructions and everything. So for me, that was a huge selling point for reviewing this particular kit because I am a huge fan of the soap gal. She has a ton of YouTube videos out there that have been extremely helpful to us and our business and just growing our business. And she's just such a wonderful, generous human being. And so the fact that she is responsible for putting together this kit and also the Bubble Book really pretty much sold me on doing a review. And also the 50-50 lye solution and basically having your oils already pre-blended. I mean, this looks like it's going to be super simple and easy to use for a beginner. So thanks for watching and we'll see you soon. Bye. All right, everybody, welcome back. This is a brand new day for us, but same video for you, which is the marvels of technology. Anyway, I have printed out the Bubble Book right here. This is how we're gonna make the soap. I'm gonna pretend that I'm a brand new soap maker. We're gonna follow the directions exactly, and we're just gonna get right into it. I'm really excited about this kit. It pretty much has everything you need in order to get going. So I'm gonna read out the instructions, and basically it's telling me here that these are the things that I need in order to make the soap. We need the wooden mold, which we've got right here. We need the Trinity oil blend, which is right here. And there are measurements for all this stuff, which we will measure these out in just a minute. We need our lye solution. This is our 50-50 lye solution. We have distilled water or an alternative liquid. So we've decided to use aloe vera. So that's what I have in here. This is aloe vera juice. And then we've got our fragrance or essential oil. We've got essential oil here, tea tree and lavender. So I'm gonna do a little blend of these. Kaolin clay and our Himalayan pink salt, and then our natural powders to our liking. So I decided to use this blue matcha powder, which I've never used before, so I'm pretty excited to see what this turns out like. I think we're gonna do like a half blue, half just regular white soap. All right, and then I also picked out some botanicals to put on top. We've got some butterfly pea flowers and lavender buds. So these are our ingredients. And then on top of that, we have our PPE. We've got our goggles, just all of our safety gear. I've got the spatula, the scale, and then our containers. And of course, the stick blender. All right, we're gonna start by weighing out all of our ingredients, and the first ingredient is the Trinity oil blend. So we're gonna use the scale. And if you're brand new to soap making, actually tearing a scale is a little bit unintuitive at first. But basically what you do is you put your container on, and you'll see that it's weighing out. Here it says 7.45, so that's the weight of the container, but we wanna measure the weight of the oils. So we're gonna tear our scale, which zeroes it out, which means anything I put in this container is now gonna be weighed out. Now our Trinity oil blend has coconut oil, palm oil, and olive oil. So coconut and palm can get hard. Ours has been sitting in our studio, which is about 78 degrees when we walked in here this morning. So this is liquid right now, but if it wasn't liquid, you might need to put this in a warm water bath or something. So I'm actually gonna shake it up a little bit. And we're gonna need 48 ounces of this. So I'm just gonna measure this out. This is the container that I'm gonna be making the soap in. All right, we're gonna go to 48. I went a little bit over, so I'm gonna grab a spoon and take some of it out because I like things to be precise. All right, I've got a spoon, and I'm gonna need this anyway for my top. So I went over by 0.2. So what I usually do in that case is just pour back a little bit. All right, that's exactly 48. Perfect. So this is 3 pounds of oils, and the oils are already pre-measured for you. So, you know, normally in soap making, you have to measure each oil individually. So this is kind of nice. You've already got it all ready to go. And in the instructions, it says that you want this to be at 80 to 90 degrees. So I'm gonna take a measurement, and this is at 77. So it's really almost there, but we're gonna heat it up just a tiny bit. In the directions here, it says that you can put it in a wax melter. We don't have a wax melter, so we're just gonna put in the microwave for maybe 30 seconds, and that should do the trick. So I'm gonna do that right now. Waiting for the oils. All right, so I melted these in the microwave for 30 seconds. I was at 77 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's see where we're at now. We're at 93, which is a little bit on the warm side, according to these instructions, but by the time we're ready to make soap, this should go down a little bit. So I think that's perfect. All right, the next thing we need to do is measure out our water and add the salt into it. Now, this is actually really interesting that we're adding salt to our water. We're using aloe vera, by the way, rather than water. Remember that we're using 50-50 lye. So this is 50% lye, 50% water, and then we're adding additional liquid on top of that. So we're gonna do aloe vera as our additional liquid. And I figured out that this is actually 2 parts water or liquid to 1 part lye, which is exactly what we use in our recipes. All right, so this part's done. We're gonna take another little container and turn our scale back on, and we're gonna measure out our water, which is aloe vera. And we need, let's see, 7 ounces. So I'm gonna pour that in. Try not to go over this time. 7 ounces, okay. So if you don't have aloe vera, you can just use distilled water. And now it says to add 0.1 ounce of the salt into your water and mix using a whisk. So I'm gonna tear my scale again, and we're gonna go to 0.1 ounce with this. There we go, it's 0.1. So salt adds hardness to your soap. So that's why it's kind of a nice addition to have salt in there because it will make your bar a little bit harder. It kind of acts like sodium lactate. If you've ever used sodium lactate, that's a liquid salt. So this is just an alternative way to do the same thing. Now, I need to go get a whisk. I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my aloe vera and my salt in here, and now I'm gonna whisk this up to incorporate the salt. And I'm just gonna keep doing this until I don't see any salt in here anymore. The salt should dissolve. Okay, that looks pretty good. And if you don't have a whisk, I don't think that's a big deal. You can use a spatula. Okay, so we've got our oils warmed up. We've got our aloe vera with our salt in there. The next step is to pour out the lye solution. It does say here at the beginning to put on your PPE, which I didn't do yet because I knew we weren't working with lye yet, but I will definitely need to put it on now. And this kit comes with a whole bunch of cool stuff. Glasses or goggles. Actually, I'm gonna put on a long sleeve as well because right now I'm in short sleeves. All right, friends, I forgot a step. Step 5. Add your salt water mixture, which is this, into your Trinity blend. The Trinity blend is the oil blend. And use an immersion blender to mix for approximately 1 minute. So your alternative liquid, one of the nice things about it is you can use milk or anything like that as your alternative liquid, and you can add it directly to your oils. And this is how we do our soap as well. So I'm just gonna put all that in there, and then we're gonna blend this up for, it says 1 minute approximately. And this stick blender came with the kit, and so that's what I'm gonna use for this soap. Ooh, it's a pretty powerful stick blender actually. Okay, it hasn't been a minute, but I'm gonna do it for a full minute and we'll be back. All right, so I stick blended for a full minute. Normally I don't stick blend that long to incorporate ingredients, but there is salt in here, so I think it's probably a good idea to blend for a little bit longer. Now I will put the rest of my PP on because we're gonna be doing lye. So the kit comes with these sleeves, which I find super fun because this way I won't get anything on my clothes, which is nice. And I get to feel like someone who's about to, I don't know, bake a cake or something. I don't know, I feel fancy. All right, we got our gloves. These are nice long gloves. I have really tiny hands, but these fit pretty well. They're a little bit big for me, but not too bad. Okay, we're gonna get our scale back in action here. All right. Pour in your 50-50 lye solution using an immersion blender until mixed completely. But we still need to weigh our lye solution, which I haven't done yet. I'm gonna turn on our scale. For those of you who aren't familiar with 50-50 lye, we did do a video about this if you're interested, a video on how to make your own 50-50 lye. This one is pre-mixed, which is super nice because it's just ready to go. Whoops. And the other video is just kind of an explanation of why you would want to use 50-50 lye. But I absolutely love that Makesy makes 50-50 lye available directly to you, so you don't have to worry about mixing your own lye. Okay, I need 14 ounces of 50-50 lye solution. So if I'm pouring 14 ounces of 50-50 lye, that means that what I'm actually getting is 7 ounces of lye and 7 ounces of water. And if you'll recall, we added 7 ounces of aloe vera, so that means that's why it's a 2-to-1 ratio. 7 aloe vera, 7 water, that's in here, and then the other 7 of lye. I gotta get my scale going again here. Make sure you've tared it out. Do 14 ounces. Okay, I went over a tiny bit, so I'm just gonna pour a little bit back. Okay, now we're at 14. So the nice thing about having pre-mixed lye, like now I have a bunch left over, but the nice thing is there's no fumes, so I don't need to worry about wearing a mask. It's already pre-mixed, so the dangerous part is kind of done, and so that's like super easy, you're ready to go. I'm gonna measure the temperature here. It's at 78 degrees, which is pretty good. It's pretty close to that 80, so it's gonna be very similar to my oil temperature. All right, now we have to put in our 50-50 lye solution and mix using an immersion blender. All right, now we get to make the actual soap. So before I start though, I kind of want to think about a couple of things. I want to think about what my design is because I am going to be adding some of this blue matcha powder. So I think what I want to do before I start is I want to put this, a little bit of this in a container so that we can pour it off and mix our soap, and then we'll be able to get that other color. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to take my gloves off for this because these are, like I said, a little bit harder for me to use because my hands are so small. We're going to open this up and put a little bit in a container. I'm going to use the same container that we had our aloe vera in, and I'm going to measure this out. It doesn't say how much to use, but I think what I'm going to do is probably use about half a teaspoon of this powder. And I've never used blue matcha, so I'm totally winging it and I don't really know what I'm doing. It would have been smart for me to research this ahead of time, but this is such a lovely blue color. And from what I read on the Makesy website or in the bubble book, is that this can actually give you kind of a blue or maybe even purple color. So I'm very interested to see how that turns out. Okay, so this is a good example of like reading ahead in the directions and making sure that you know what you're doing before you start. But luckily, I've realized that I still need to measure out my colorant and also our essential oils. So we're gonna do that. The first one is the blue matcha powder. I'm gonna use, what did I say, half a teaspoon? Okay, I'm gonna put that in here. All right, so we've got our blue matcha powder, and like I said, the bubble book does talk about how you might want to hydrate this with a little bit of something. So I'm going to put a little bit of this aloe vera in here, just a splash, to kind of get this incorporated. And go in with my whisk, just to kind of get the clumps out. Oh, that's a really pretty blue. Wow. Okay, that's incredible. It's kind of like indigo, but it's actually more of a bright blue than indigo. That's gorgeous. I hope that comes out in the soap. I've been making soap for 7 years and I've literally never heard about using blue matcha powder. So this is pretty exciting for me. So we have our colorant ready. We've got our lye here and we've got our oils, and now we just need our essential oils. So it says to use 2 ounces of essential oil, and each of these bottles is 2 ounces. Now, again, this is lavender and tea tree, and I know that tea tree can be really strong. So what I'm gonna do is make a combination of lavender and tea tree, but really just a tiny bit of tea tree and mostly lavender. So we're gonna get our scale back out again. I have a glass container for this because essential oils do better in glass. Okay, so I like to use a stick when working with essential oils to help with pouring. Basically, if you put your stick kind of level with the top and then you pour down the end of the stick, it'll help make sure that you get less spillage. So I'm gonna wing it. We're gonna do almost 2 ounces of lavender, which should be this whole bottle almost. And maybe we'll do the last 0.2 of tea tree. All right, my scale turned off, so you wanna be cautious of that. I had it on sitting here for a long time while I was talking, so you wanna make sure that you reset your scale, because some of these scales will turn off automatically, and some of them have a setting where you can change that. But this one, you just wanna make sure that you don't lose track of your numbers. So I did 1.8 of lavender, and now I'm gonna do 0.2 of tea tree. Okay, so I'm at 0.2. So that's my essential oil blend. And then I also need to add kaolin clay. Now we don't do this in our soaps, but a lot of people use kaolin clay to kind of anchor their scent of their essential oil. And so it says to add 1 ounce of the kaolin clay. So I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna reset my scale because I timed out last time. All right, 1 ounce. It says here it helps retain the fragrance composition. Like 1 ounce is a lot. It might be this whole container actually. I didn't look to see. Yeah, it's pretty much the whole thing. I'm just gonna get the rest of it in there. And now we're gonna stir this up. So you've kind of got a slurry of essential oil and kaolin clay. We're going to be adding this to our oils at trace. Okay, now we're really all set. So I like to kind of visualize what I'm going to do before I start so I don't mess up. We're not going to need the scale anymore, so I'm going to put that away. We're going to be taking our oils and aloe vera and salt mixture, adding our 50-50 lye to that. We're going to stick blend it. Then we're going to add our fragrance and kaolin clay slurry in here at trace. That's what it says to do. I would typically add this now before, but I'm going to follow the directions as stated here. At light trace, we're going to add the kaolin clay and essential oil and any other additives. Like if you wanted to color your whole soap with a color, then you would add it then as well. And then what I'm going to do is pour off this much. I'm not going to weigh it out, but I'm going to pour out about this much of the batter. And we're going to do kind of a little swirl in our mold. So our mold is here and it's all ready to go. And I think we have everything, except I don't have my gloves on. Let's do that. A lot of people don't really think about this, but when you're mixing your lye solution, you want to be careful with safety, but also your batter is also going to be caustic. So once you add your lye in here, it's not time to take off your goggles and gloves and all that. That's when you can still get lye burns that way, or you can still get batter in your eye. So just remember that. All right, here we go. The best part of soap making is when you get to make the actual soap. Soap making is like 90% prep and 10% actually making the soap. All right. I'm going to give this a little bit more of a mix because it's been sitting here a bit. We'll take the temperature too. We're at 87, which is perfect. Here's our lye. I'm going to add that in. I'm going to pulse the stick blender a little bit while I'm adding it. As soon as you add the lye, you're officially making soap, and it's going to start to change before your eyes. It says to stick blend for approximately 1 minute. I'm going to do less than that because I want to make sure I'm not over blending. I like to kind of mix it around like this and get a feel for what the batter is like. You can grab your spatula and go in here and kind of see if you're getting any trace. Now, I don't see really much of a trace right now, so I'm going to keep blending. I'm not used to using palm oil. This is sustainable palm oil, so I don't really know what batter looks like with palm oil in it, and it's definitely got a little bit of a different texture than usual, than I'm used to, so I'm going to keep going. The thing about blending is if you overblend, then you're pretty much done. You can't go backwards. Whereas if you keep checking like this, then you can always keep doing more. All right, I see a tiny little bit of a trace here, and I feel like that's pretty good. It's pretty small. You probably can't pick it up on camera, but I think that looks pretty good. So next we're gonna add our kaolin clay and essential oil blend. So I'm just gonna take the stick blender off so it doesn't fall down. All right, I'm gonna put all that in there. And this is the good stuff. So I'm gonna make sure I go in with a spatula and get all of it in there. Okay, this smells really good, you guys. Just that tiny little bit of tea tree is really nice with the lavender. Okay, now, all right, when you reach a light trace, then you can add the kaolin clay and essential oil and the other additives. And then it says to blend a little bit more using the immersion blender until you get to a thicker consistency, like a pudding-like consistency. So I'm going to do that now. This batter is behaving really well, by the way. It seems like this is a really good recipe for beginners. Okay, I'm definitely getting a thicker trace now, and I'll show you what that looks like. You can kind of see when I pick up the stick blender, it's even leaving, you know, some trace on top. All right, we're done with this guy. Okay. This has some thickness to it. You see that? How you can kind of, there's almost like peaks when I pull it up. It's sticking to my spatula really good, so this is ready to go. Now we're gonna be using another color. So I'm gonna pour off some of this into this incredible blue here. I can't wait to see what it looks like with the batter in there. I might just pour half of this and just kind of see what the color looks like. And then if it's looking really dark, then I might add more. But if it's looking lighter, then I might leave it like this. Okay, this happens sometimes with natural colorants where it gets like a little bit chunky and you can't really quite get it to incorporate well without the stick blender. So I'm gonna stick the stick blender in here and give it a good mixing. And then we should start to see the color come out. Interestingly, this looks like it's turning yellow. But natural colorants are weird like this. Like some colorants look completely different, and then when they cure, they'll end up a totally different color. So I don't know, we're just gonna go with it. See what happens. Just make sure I've got it all in there. Okay. All right, so our batter is a little bit thick right now, so we're gonna work quickly. The thing about soap making is you kind of want to work with what you've got. So my intention was to kind of swirl this. I don't know if we're going to be able to or not. We'll see. All right, here we go. I'm going to put the batter in. I think what I'm going to do is put half the batter in, and then we're going to do a little bit of this in here. Do you see how yellow that is? That's really interesting. Okay. Now, get a little bit more of this in here. I love this mold, by the way. Really, really nice, high quality mold. Okay. This is pretty thick right now, so I'm gonna tamp this down a little bit. This is what I meant about how you can't go backwards, you know? All right, that looks good. I'm gonna do a little bit more of this one. I don't mind a thick batter. Sometimes people freak out when their batter gets thick, but I don't know, it's just results in a different design. A thick batter is sometimes really nice if you want, you know, a lot of texture. All right, give that another tap. Kind of feel like I did a little bit of disservice to the blue matcha because I don't think it got mixed in super well. What might work better is to use hot water rather than the aloe vera that I used, because you can see that it didn't really dissolve all the way. I'm not worried about it at all, but if you do decide to use this colorant, maybe try, also oil might have worked better for mixing with. Typically, actually, you do use oil for plant-based colorants rather than water. So just something to keep in mind. Soap making, whoops, is always an experiment. I feel like we make our recipes all the time, the same ones. So when you make something new, the first time is always, you gotta keep your mind open and just go with the flow. All right, I'm gonna try to salvage this big dollop that I just dropped. Okay, all right, I'm gonna even this out and we'll be back in a second. All right, we are back. I've flattened this out a little bit and cleaned up the workspace. Now we're gonna texture the top. I've got my spoon. And we're just gonna do a pretty simple texture. I kind of let this sit a little bit too long, but it's actually still pretty nice. I'm wondering wondering if this blue matcha is going to be yellow. I mean, that would be pretty cool. Okay. Kind of looking at this whisk over here, and I sort of want to use it. Let's give it a go. I mean, it kind of picked up a lot of my batter, but I don't know, it's kind of fun. Okay, now we're gonna put our botanicals on top. I'm gonna take my gloves off for this just because these packages are pretty small, but I'm not gonna touch the soap batter. We have butterfly pea flowers, which are a really beautiful purple color. I'll put some of those on top. Butterfly pea flowers actually make an incredible purple colored tea. Like, you can make butterfly pea tea, and I think if you add, I might have the colors wrong. I don't know if it's blue. I think it's blue. And then if you add lemon to it, it'll turn pink, which is super cool. I've been wanting to do that for a long time, so maybe I'll save some of these and try that as a little experiment. All right, and then we have our lavender buds too. Put some of those on top. I always like putting botanicals on top because it provides some nice interest, but you do want to be cautious of making sure that these don't go down your drain, you know. I think lavender buds are okay, but these butterfly pea flowers might be a little on the large side. Okay, and then another trick is that I like to push these down with something. This is where this little stick comes in handy again, just to make sure that nothing falls off the top. All right, so our soap is officially done, and I'm really excited to see what this looks like. Oh, and the other thing is that we have a lid, so we can put the lid on here. The lid really helps with ensuring that the soap is going to gel. That should help the colors really brighten up. It also helps with soda ash, so you don't get soda ash on top. And I don't have lids for any of my molds, so this seems like super luxurious. All right, we're gonna let this sit for 24 to 48 hours. Then we're gonna come back and cut it on camera so you can see what it looks like. And I'll also give some closing thoughts on what I think about this kit. We'll see you then. Bye. Welcome back, everybody. It's been about 3 days since we made this soap, and we are going to unmold and cut it now. So the nice thing about this mold right here, or what I like anyway, is that there's a cover on it, which feels really fancy. And it's a really simple thing, but it allows your soap to completely gel. You can see that there's no soda ash on the top here, which is awesome. All right, this is my first time ever using this mold, so we'll see how it goes. All right, the top looks really nice. I'm excited about this. This is unmolding really nicely. What I'm doing here right now is making sure that the seal, it's kind of like a little vacuum seal on the soap, gets removed. And again, it's been 3 days, but you don't need to wait this long. Probably a day or two is plenty. The soap feels really nice and hard, which is great. And I love this kind of tall, skinny design, or sorry, not design, but shape of the soap. Now, one thing that I do when I cut my soap, if there's botanicals on top, I'll always put it on the side like this. And we're gonna use the cutter that comes with a Makesy kit. So I'm gonna mark that off at every 1.1 inch. Okay, so we've done one end, and I'm actually gonna mark off the other end as well. The reason we're doing this, by the way, is just, it's a little bit tricky to cut straight with this particular style of cutter. So I'm just making sure that our bars end up the right size. Okay, so I've made all my notches at 1 1/8 of an inch. Normally, if you were to cut this at 1 inch, you would get about 16.5 bars. I'm gonna get about 14 and then an end piece that we're gonna cut up for samples. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a cutting mat under here. I haven't cut soap like this in a long time, but this is super fun because I used to use this all the time when I first started making soap. All right, here's our cutting mat. All right, here we go. I'm a little bit nervous, not gonna lie. Okay, lining up with my notches, and then we're just gonna go straight down. All right, and then when you take it off, it's always gonna stick like this, so you just twist it and pull it off. Actually, that's kind of pretty. So the blue matcha ended up kind of a darker sort of creamy color on here rather than blue, but that's okay. I'm not sad about it. I kind of like the way it turned out, actually. Definitely not doing a great job cutting straight. Let's take some practice. There we go. I did better that time. So I don't know if I explained this earlier, but one of the reasons that I put the loaf on the side like this is so that the botanicals don't get dragged through the soap when you cut. If you were to cut from the top like this, you would be pushing your botanicals down through the soap, and then you'd end up with drag marks. And so that's why we're cutting on the side like this, to prevent those drag marks from happening. The soap feels like a really nice hardness to me. It has been sitting here for 3 days, probably a little bit harder than it would have been if we'd unmolded a little earlier. All right, these are really cute. I'm super excited about these. So just a little recap of the kit and basically what I think about it. I absolutely love that Makesy has a kit that's all in one where you can buy everything you could possibly think of needing for soap making. So they've got the stick blender in there, the scale. I do think you want to be cautious of the scale turning off in the middle of measuring. Basically, you want to know that it turns off after a minute. So just keep that in mind. But the scale is really nice to have. The stick blender is really fantastic. It seemed to stick blend really well. It only has one setting, so it's just kind of on or off rather than having a low or high. But that didn't seem to be an issue at all for this project. I love that there's botanicals and different colorants, so you can kind of play around with it and make what you want while still having the Trinity blend and the lye pretty much ready for you. So the 50-50 lye is fantastic. I think for one thing, it makes it way easier to make soap as a beginner because you don't have to worry about mixing up your lye. The other thing I like about it is it's kind of a great sort of education for new soap makers, the fact that you can use 50-50 lye and that the extra liquid can be an alternative liquid. It doesn't have to be water. I love that. In the documentation for Makesy, one of the things they talk about is that these soaps will be ready in 2 days. Now, I take a little bit of an objection to that. I think what they're really trying to say is that your soap saponifies in 2 days. So after 48 hours, the lye has reacted fully with the oils and it's pretty much ready to use. I think that's definitely true. The other thing is that this soap is a harder recipe. It includes palm oil, coconut oil. It has salt in it, which also makes it harder. And it has a little bit of a water discount. So that's definitely going to help make sure that the bars are a little bit harder to begin with. However, I would still recommend that you cure these for a full 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, depending on your climate. And you want to make sure that you have the right weight for your bar. So basically, after you make your soap, you want to let it sit for a full 4 weeks, or maybe even longer. You want to let it sit until it's not losing water weight anymore. And then at that point, you'll know the final weight of your soap. And Makesy does talk about this, by the way, in their bubble book, how this is probably something you want to do to make sure that you have the right weight for your final product if you're going to be selling. But I am going to try this bar after 2 days and see what it feels like. I think that'll probably be a longer lasting bar with a full cure. And personally, I feel like soap feels better the longer it's been sitting. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents on the curing time. I would recommend curing for 4 weeks, especially if you're a new soap maker and you're just making soap for fun and you're just, you know, you can let the soap sit around for a little while. All right. Actually, I'm going to turn some of these this way so the camera up here can see. Those turned out super nice, and actually I'm really happy with how the blue matcha powder looks in here. It's really complements the color, the base color really nicely, and it looks all natural, which I love. I love the butterfly pea flowers on top. So anyway, if you're a brand new soap maker, you've never made soap before, definitely recommend this kit, especially if you don't have any supplies on hand right now, because you literally get everything you need. I love the containers that come with the kit, the stick blender. It's just really fantastic and an easy way to get started. Anyway, I hope you really enjoyed this video review. We really enjoyed working with this kit and with Makesy. We think it's a great option for people that are brand new. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. We are trying to do as honest of a review as possible, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. All right, thanks so much for watching and have a great day. Bye.